Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Friday Roll Call. And to our regular audience, it's awesome to be back with you. And to everybody here that's new this Friday, welcome. This is the forum where we dig deeper into the principles that our team has introduced to you by way of our keynotes, our breakout sessions, our workshops, the Top Gun Teamwork Program, and anywhere else we've met. And if you and I haven't yet, my name is Robert Teschner, call sign Cujo. I'm the founder and CEO here at VMAX Group. And today we're going to talk about why it is that I used to have a no bitching policy when I was a fighter squadron commander. Interesting title for a roll call reflection. Good observation, though, I think, for all of us at any level of the game. I mean, whether we're the CEO or not, this message is for all of us because it requires us to think about, do we have empathy for the people that are in positions over us? Good. So I take you back about 15 years ago when I took command of the 7th Fighter Squadron at beautiful Holloman Air Force Base, scenic Alamogordo, New Mexico. Great place, by the way. I actually really enjoyed it out there. And one of the things that I noted about our little squadron, we were a startup. We were just kind of getting going. We were adding new pilots every week, bringing in new airplanes. We had a tendency, and I'd say this is across the fighter space. Like this isn't unique to that organization at that time. But just as fighter pilots, we tend to complain a lot, and we had a lot of things we could complain about back then. All right, so we were just complaining all the time. And if you went into our squadron, you'd hear pockets of people complaining about this and that, and like what an idiot this person was, and all these things thrown around, and it wasn't a very positive atmosphere. And I knew because we were under the gun. We were getting ready for a big international deployment, so there was stress and again, we were bringing new people in. We weren't a full up functioning organization when I took over, and so all of that compounded meant that anything that was additionally negative only made things worse for us. And so I instituted this no bitching rule, unless and there was one caveat, and the caveat was this: you could openly complain if you had done the research to understand the full truth of what our leadership was up against when they made the decisions that they did, and were willing to back up your proposal of how it should be done better by joining me and going to the general and telling them how they should be doing this thing. So there was an opportunity to both complain and then fix. All right. And I'll be honest with you, like nobody took me up on the let's go fix this thing uh, opportunity approach, whatever you want to call it, and simultaneously the complaining went down to a dull roar, and it was, I think, a good thing for us. Like we needed that. What drove my approach was, even though I too was disappointed with some of the decisions that were made, was that I finally was in a position to empathize with the people that were struggling above me. And as I look at it from two different vantage points, when I was a young fighter pilot, we'll call it lieutenant captain, it was very easy to point fingers at leadership and go, well, those people have no clue what they're doing. When I was finally the person, also being accused of not being able to lead my way out of a paper bag, I was like, actually, I now see what those other folks had been up against, and I understand, and I can empathize with them. I understand their pain now. And because I could understand the pain at my level, I could also predict and understand and empathize with the folks that were appointed over me. And so that's what led to this. You probably don't know everything that they've got going on. These leaders above us, that's influencing the way that they're choosing to lead, and they probably have a whole series of bad options available to them, and they're picking the least bad one. Oh, and the other thing that I told my teammates was one option that you do have available to you is to do such a good job in the current system that you get promoted to become a multi-star general, and then you can change the system however it is that you think it needs to be changed. Anyway, the point of all of this is that I, by virtue of being in a leadership position, started to have empathy for what it is that our leaders are up against, and this plays very well into kind of the state of affairs for us today and the way that we ought to probably come into our places of work on Monday. And what I would propose is that right off the bat, in the absence of any additional context, we assume positive intent from our leaders. Meaning, our fundamental assumption is that they're making the best decision in their mind that they can, given what it is that they know. That's the first thing that I might offer. The second thing that I might offer is that if we think we do have a better solution than the one that our leadership has chosen, we might have an obligation to share that opinion with somebody higher up than us. Okay, so if we've made the good conscience effort to go forth and share what we think is a better solution than the one that they're going with, that's probably a positive. May or may not be appreciated though, and we have to be open to the point that maybe even after we've with the best of intentions, coming from a pure place, it's in our heart that this is the right thing. And maybe that after that, what we've said isn't accepted by the leadership. In which case, we have to make a determination. Is this a big enough issue for me to exit? Is this something worth falling on my sword over? Or if not, having done the good conscience thing of saying this is what I think is probably a better solution, should we go back and try to make whatever it is that we've been tasked to do work? And that's an individual decision. But I do think that we can come back to work resting easy, having voiced our concerns. Whether or not they've been accepted is a totally different conversation. But the fact that we've voiced our concern means we've probably done our part here, and now it's up to us to wait for how this thing plays out so that we can be ready to help if things don't work out, ready to help the team rebound, maybe with greater standing and greater credibility because of what it is that we voiced. And in all cases, realizing that by assuming positive intent, we can go through the day with less anxiety, less frustration and anger, more energy to do our part of this thing, right? I think that's probably a better disposition to have than the opposite one, which says all of these people pointed over me have no clue, all right? Good. So a little bit of empathy for leadership today. If you're the CEO, maybe it's a little bit of empathy for where the board's coming from, understanding that they've got their own set of views of how the world works and where we fit within it, right? And hopefully everybody is actually on the same team trying to make this enterprise, wherever we are, to be its best, to work in a sea of disruption. And just know this, every leader can and will have an exceptionally bad day. I mean, even the best of the best that I've seen have done some stunningly shocking things on very rare occasions because, heads up, they're human beings having a bad day. And instead of us just capsizing all the great work that those leaders have done and dismissing it all because of the one bad data point, maybe our better approach is to come into this thing saying, yep, today's that day. And I'm going to help you through this, and I'm not going to take away any of the credit that you've built up with me through the years because of this one bad day. I'm going to give you your bad day, fellow human, and I'm going to help us to be able to bounce back and have a better day tomorrow. I think that's a worthy ambition and a great way to come into this thing. Because right now it's hard. I mean, make no mistake, we've got clients at VMAX Group that are going like gangbusters. I mean, they are printing money. They're growing so fast, which is actually a challenge because rapid growth is a major challenge, especially on the accountability front. But that's a good challenge to have, right? We've got other clients that are having some struggles right now. And regardless of which side of that equation you're on, there's a burden on leadership. Okay, rapid growth burden is how do I manage through all of this and how do I keep everything from getting out of control and how do I make sure that we don't do something stupid, have a safety issue, whatever else. There's all kinds of challenges there. The other leaders are just trying to figure out how to keep the doors open and the lights on. There's a lot of pressure there. And sometimes that pressure leads to narrowed focus and, you know, I got to choose whose inputs I'm going to listen to and they're making the best decision that they can. They just pick the wrong input to listen. That's hard. So let's just acknowledge that and let's support our teammates as they go through this. Final point that I'll make. Through the years, as we've done our little exercises, Jimmy's birthday party specifically, I've had members of the team come to me telling me offline that they could have solved this thing the right way. In fact, would have had they been the leader. I'm like, well, why didn't you speak up? And the answer through the years has been because I wasn't the leader. And implied in there is like, so I let this thing fail, which is not a good recipe for winning teams. Okay, so all of this is about how do we build a winning team. And as a teammate on that team, we're going to assume positive intent. We're going to offer our input as to how it is that we think things ought to be. But then we're going to, unless this is the issue to fall on our swords over, we're going to stand back and trust that our leadership's doing the best that they can, and we're here standing by to support. And even if this particular initiative fails and it's painful to go through that failure, we're going to help build this thing back up, because that's what a good teammate's going to do. Good. So a lot of things for us to think about this weekend. And just know as we go into this weekend and we ponder how it is that we're going to lead and team better, Team VMAX Group will always be rooting for you. And I personally look forward to speaking with you again next Friday.